If you walk through the south entrance of the graduate library, walk up one flight of stairs, enter the door and go to the back of the book stacks, you will find a huge collection of microfilms. Stored in the stacks of Hatcher North 1 East is just a fraction of the thousands of microfilms the university has in its possession. Each of these microfilms can store around 1,000 pages, and most of them do. In these book stacks, you can see many examples of microfilms relating to the government in some manner. Papers with information on the federal surveillance of African Americans, investigations from Watergate, and a series of confidential state documents, just to name a few. Curious to find out more about this collection and its history, we spoke with Catherine Morse, the librarian for Government Information, Law, and Political Science. The government-related microfilm at the university consists almost wholly of replications of documents. Before much of the content stored in microfilms was digitized, it was unfeasible to travel every time unclassified documents needed to be accessed by a student. And so the university would purchase copies of documents on microfilm so students could easily access them.
We purchased them from many different companies. We purchased them, some from Gale, some from ProQuest. They were creating these microfilm collections. And the way they would do it is they would send people to maybe the National Archives facilities in the DC area, or they would send people to like a presidential library, and they would create collections of documents on like a particular theme based on what was available at the time. And then they would create the microfilm collection from that. They went back in the last 2 decades and digitized those collections. So that's why a lot of the microfilm we also have available as a digitized microfilm collection.
Although it still happens, it is uncommon for the university to get donations of microfilm.
It's more rare to get donations of microfilm because not as many people just like have microfilm in their house. But if somebody does have microfilm, they might be really interested in donating it to a university.
Another way the university obtained government-related microfilm is through the U.S. Federal Depository Library Program.
That is a program, we've been in it since 1884. And that's a program where the US government distributes information to different libraries throughout the country. So we've received millions of documents from the federal government that way. Most of them have been in print, but some have been in microfilm.
It takes a long time for the US government to declassify information. This is for several reasons. There are many internal processes that need to happen. There are not many government staff working on declassification, and there is not much motivation for the government to publish outside of the public requesting for it to be done.
You know, the US government might want to lean on the side of secrecy, maybe out of fear, or maybe out of like embarrassment. The pressure on them to do this kind of like increases and decreases, right? And so after Watergate was a time when people were really putting pressure on the government to try to be a little more transparent and release information. And like there was a lot of interest in documents related to U.S. participation in Vietnam, right?
Going forward, storage space will continue to be a big issue. Already, most of the microfilm is stored off-site, at places other than Shapiro and Hatcher. According to Catherine, librarians and archivists from an array of large universities have been communicating with each other about how to streamline the switch over to the more popular and retrievable digitized microfilm collections, while still trying to maintain space for the physical copies in case at any point we do not have access to the digital ones.
All the information that is here, we've got to make sure that we are constantly migrating it to the best format, and that we are always working on the stuff to make sure that they are being preserved. But there's also so many things that have been written that it's a lot of work, and so we will always have to work with other libraries to do this. We wouldn't be able to like preserve everything just ourselves.
Additionally, librarians and archivists need to worry about the effects of climate change on the health of the microfilm.
You know, one of the real effects of climate change is going to be a risk to all of this content if there are hurricanes, wildfires, floods. All that kind of stuff is really bad for keeping your collection in good health. That's another reason why we've got to make sure we're working together and why we have things kind of like safe in different parts of the country.
We viewed lots of interesting documents on the microfilm stored at the library. Eleanor and Franklin D. Roosevelt's itineraries, a handwritten note from FDR outlining his burial procedure, reports on German finances and propaganda after World War I, telegrams from right before the start of World War II, notes from the Office of Censorship, along with many more. There is so much content within the microfilm waiting to be explored, and certainly not just of government information. The contents of any reels can be examined on microfilm viewing machines in the Serials and Microfilms department. Reservations can be made through LibCal.